Hello, I'm Mary Cook, barrister and partner at Town Legal, and a very warm welcome to the next in our Town Legal series, in which we are interviewing people in planning and the development world. And this week we are in the head of Estelle Dehon QC.
Hello, Mary.
Hello, it's lovely to see you, Estelle. I
Nice to
first
see you
met
too.
Estelle when she joined Cornerstone Barristers as a junior when I was head of chambers, and I invited her to share my room. I could see from the outset, yes, and she's sitting in there right now. I can see from the outset that she was indeed a versatile public lawyer with a practice embracing planning, but also reaching into other areas such as election law, GDPR and data protection, inquests, and all things related to human rights. She's particularly interested in climate change, and she has represented those resisting fracking and also those resisting an application relating to Leeds Bradford Airport. And in addition, she has been representing a group called All the Citizens in their challenge to the use by ministers and their advisors of exploding messages in WhatsApps. And she's also represented two NHS doctors who successfully challenged the COVID-19 guidance on personal protective equipment for NHS staff on the basis that it breached the right to life and discriminated against healthcare workers of colour. To return to planning, she was in the Court of Appeal in the recent case of Finch, in which the Court of Appeal declined to define likely significant effects of the proposed development on the facts of that case, oil extraction, including the downstream emissions of hydrocarbon development as indirect environmental effects. But the courts disagreed with Holgate J and concluded that depending on the specific projects, such effects might properly be regarded as indirect environmental effects. So an important clarification, Estelle, I think you would say, in relation to the law, and well done
Agreed.
you. So I hope, listeners, you get a sense from that introduction of what a broad practice that Estelle has. So let's get started, Estelle, on the questions.
Mm-hmm.
What has been your proudest achievement to date in your career?
Yeah.
I have a hunch I know what this might be.
Yes, thanks, Mary. I mean, you're right, I think, about what it's going to be. I did think about this really carefully, though, because, there've been a number of highlights in terms of cases that I've argued or teams that I've been part of, but my proudest achievement is taking Silk. And thank you so much. Thank you. And yeah, it was the ceremony was last 2 months ago now in March, and my family came over, and it's just been a very joyous occasion. It's been one of those incredible reminders of the bar as a collegiate place, because so many people have got in touch. And the collegiality actually was completely reinforced when I picked up this, which is my letters patent. And if I can show you I didn't realize this. When you take Silk, we all line up in our orders of seniority to then go up and take the oath and receive our letters patent. But every person who gets their letters patent has the oath on it, but also has recorded within the text the person who comes after them in, is that right? Who comes after them?
Ruth,
That's right.
After Ruth Byrne.
Yeah.
So Miss Estelle Alexandra Michelle Dehon.
Yeah.
Yes, that's marvellous. All the ladies.
Yes, it was absolutely, it was one of the key things I think about this year, was the significant intake of women silks. And in fact, actually, when we went to the administrative court, the usher commented about how how unusual it was to see so many women. And we were very lucky, actually, that the three planning women who took silk this year had a very short special calling done by Lord Justice Lindblom for us as a sort of special planning welcome to Being Silks. So it was a very joyous occasion.
Yeah. That's lovely. That's lovely. Well, we're all very proud of you too.
Thank you, Mary.
And those other ladies. Now, what career lesson, Estelle, would you pass back to your younger self?
Yeah. So my younger self, so thinking right back, I'm an only child, and I spent a long time in university pursuing my various interests, and so I spent a long time, in my own head or working by myself, and I always wondered when I came to the bar, how would I be working closely with other people? Might I find that difficult? How would it be? Would I get the opportunity, or would I just be working by myself? So the piece of advice I'd pass back to my younger self is absolutely, you will get to work in teams, and you will find that that is one of the best things about being at the bar, and something that you really enjoy. And that's definitely what I found, especially in the planning world. We're so often collaborating with solicitors, with other professionals, with planning consultants, with other experts in big teams, and it's absolutely crucial to get that dynamic right and to really bring the best out of people. And I love that.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I mean, I'm a people person, as you know, and one of the great things about planning when I was first introduced to it was indeed, as you say, working with a team, all being in the same room together, all having different areas of expertise. And, a lot of what we do is project management, and bringing people together, getting the best out of them, and presenting the case in the most persuasive way possible. So I agree. And you meet lots of lovely people. And indeed, one of the other things I always really enjoy is meeting the local people. Sometimes you feel that they might want to hiss and boo when you first walk in the room, but actually what's really nice is when you form a relationship with them. And despite your differences, difference of opinions, you can still exchange a few words with them and find you have something in common with them.
Yeah, absolutely. And at the end, generally what I find in planning inquiries, especially long planning inquiries, is that you realize you're mostly all there for the same reason, which is that you want the best for whatever the place is and whatever the development is. And if you remember that, no matter who it is that you're representing, then absolutely you find that things go better. And certainly my experience of teams in especially very long running inquiries. I mean, you know this, Mary, it's a marathon, not a sprint. And very often it's so important for various members of the team to be able to kind of bring people back up together and keep the momentum going and keep spirits up. And if everybody's pleasant to each other and pulling in the same direction, that makes such a difference.
Absolutely, absolutely. Okay, so my next question is this: Have you ever had an "I told you so" moment? And who was that person, and what did you tell them?
Well, there have been some occasions when the "I told you so" was not about not such a nice moment in a
Yes, I'm
particular
sure.
case or inquiry, but I've decided to eschew those and to go with something really nice. So a few years ago, I was involved in a case called Squire, which is to do with intensive chicken farming, and it was an environmental impact assessment case. And the solicitors came to me, and I was well aware that I was the second person that they'd come to. They'd received advice, and the advice was that for various reasons, there wasn't really a prospect of a successful challenge here. And I looked I looked again at it, as I was asked to do, and it was large chicken sheds. There was quite a lot of complicated fact. There was other law on it and on the general area. And I thought, I can see a way through here. I can see something that I think is worthwhile pursuing. So I gave that advice, and then we made the challenge. And we got knocked back. We got knocked back again. We had to go to the Court of Appeal. But in the end, in the Court of Appeal, we succeeded. And after that hearing, after it seemed like it had gone okay, I went for drinks with the solicitor and I said, you know, do you remember how this all started? And then we got the judgment, and then I said again, you know, this is it's quite something when you have to make that sort of decision right at the very beginning of a case, and to see a way through or not, and then to have it come to that fruition was fantastic.
Yeah, well done. Yeah, those are very important moments in a person's career, and of course you had the client backing you. I mean,
Yes,
one needs a brave client in circumstances like that. Um,
absolutely.
yeah, what a great moment. So, how did you choose, Estelle, your career path? How did you choose to become a public lawyer slash planning barrister?
Yes. So I always knew that the public law side of things was the side that really engaged me. And I was just fortunate really when I started out, sort of on my own 2 feet in sort of 2007, 2008. I was very fortunate that at that time there were lots of little 1 and 2 day inquiries, and I used to go off and do these little 1 and 2 day inquiries. And I had no idea of planning. You know, no, it's not something that you really ever do at university. So I had really no idea about it. But the more I did these little inquiries, and I got that taste for, you know, legal submission and policy and engagement with policy, but as well as the witness handling and expert witnesses, you know, way before I get the opportunity to do anything like that in any other sphere. And it really got me. It really gripped me. And so that kind of started off my engagement with and love of planning. And then as I got more involved and did more complicated inquiries, I was involved in 2016, I think it was, with the first inquiry that dealt with fracking in the UK. And through that and kind of understanding the evidence around it, I started to really engage with climate and climate change and what that meant for us. And so I think that's the other thing that's really kind of motivated the way in which my career has developed since then. I mean, it's very seldom, Mary, that you, as a lawyer, are confronted with something that for all of us is essentially an existential threat.
Mm.
And if in my working life I can engage with that and do something with that, then I think that's fantastic. And we know that our built environment is one of the key areas which we have to get right if we're going to be able to address this and stave off the worst and most dangerous effects for people. And I think there's such a lot of opportunity, Mary. You know, there's such a lot of amazing development that comes out of thinking about climate and the response to it. You know, net zero homes and retrofitting in a way that is, you know, sensible and sensitive to the environment, and all the infrastructure you need for net zero. There's such a lot of amazing opportunity. And that's what I'm looking forward to, I think, in the next 5 to 10 years, a real gearing up of understanding what opportunities that urgent climate response requires in this industry.
Well, your enthusiasm is palpable. It's absolutely palpable. What's your favourite place? Let's change the conversation. What's your favourite place,
Okay.
Estelle, in the whole wide world?
Yeah. I mean, this is a real
It's,
challenge because,
yeah.
I mean, as you know, I grew up in Johannesburg, and it's a fantastic city. It's vibrant. There's so much there, and I love being there. Of course, my family and my closest friends are there. So I wonder, well, is that where it is, or is it Wales? My husband Matthew's from Wales, and I've discovered just the most extraordinary, beautiful,
Mm.
cultural, amazing country that is Wales. But what I've alighted on is a smallish island off the coast of France, Corsica,
Ah.
which is where I went with Matthew for our honeymoon, and it absolutely bewitched us. And we've been there a number of times. And actually, I've got with me a book that I got the very first time I went to Corsica in 2009, and that I read with great relish, and I dip into it often. It's called The Granite Island by this extraordinary woman called Dorothy Carrington. And she, Mary, I mean, you would absolutely have loved this woman. She was born in the early 1900s, and she went to Corsica with her husband, and she fell in love with it, with the culture, with the people, with the history, and she stayed. The husband didn't stay, she stayed. And she lived for, you know, decades in Corsica and wrote about it and engaged with the people. And as you can see on the front cover,
Yes,
it's
the
an
mountains.
absolutely extraordinary island. It's got these incredible granite mountains that kind of go across the spine. But the wonderful thing about Corsica is that there's mountain and sea really close together. So you get these beautiful white sandy beaches, and then very close to these extraordinary mountains. And it's an amazing place because it's this amalgamation of French and Italian culture and history. And it's, you know, it's been invaded by many people, and lots of different sorts of construction happens. You've got all these beautiful ancient Genoese citadels, and you've got all these extraordinarily beautiful places. And yeah, I absolutely love it.
I think you need to go and get a job with the Corsican Tourist Board, or they ought to employ you. Oh, well, sadly, I'm now about to ask you my last question, but what's your favourite record, Estelle?
Well, that was an easy one. And I, in fact, have brought with me my favorite box set of it, and it's Nina Simone. She's absolutely a hero of mine, and I consider her to be a jazz hero. There are some who say, "Oh, well, what is it that Nina Simone does? She's not really traditional jazz," but she's absolutely the heart and soul of jazz. She was an incredibly accomplished musician, and in fact, she's a pianist, and she was a classical musician. She wanted of the highest order, and she wanted to get into one of the top conservatoires, but she was a Black woman. And she was refused that opportunity, and so she poured herself into jazz. And actually, if you listen to often when she does her improvisations, you can often hear this incredible influence of Bach in what she puts into how she improvises. So I love her and I love her music. But the other thing that happened to Nina Simone was she started to engage with the civil rights movement, and she wrote some absolutely extraordinary pieces dealing with the civil rights experience and with, you know, fighting for equality and freedom. And the thing that always struck me about the way that she engaged with that, and it's something I think that resonates with me because I had really the same experience growing up in South Africa with the music of the struggle against apartheid. Often these songs are dealing with incredibly dark and difficult topics, but they are so joyous and joyful, and you know, they have that incredible feeling of hopefulness about them. So I think she's absolutely fantastic, and I love her music. So yeah, it's Nina Simone.
Great choice. Great choice.
Thanks,
Well, thank you so much, Estelle. Thank you for taking the time to talk to us. It's been an absolute pleasure sharing, well, in particular, sharing your letters patent. Marvelous. And we wish you a long and fruitful career in silk.
Thank you very much,
I'm
Mary.
looking forward to seeing your name up there in all the leading cases involving climate change, which I'm no doubt will be the case.
Thank you very much, Mary. And as always, it's an absolute delight to speak with you, and especially from our former home together. So It's been fabulous. Thank you.
Indeed. Take care. Mwah.
Thanks. Mwah.
Bye.